and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. He's my everything. It's at Aric DiLalla.
Phil, great to be with you.
It is nice to be with you here. We got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, Phil, busy week here.
Yeah, the Broncos, they fired Nathaniel Hackett on Monday.
Yep.
Jerry Rosburg met the media on Wednesday.
He fired other people Monday, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, he fired Dwayne Stukes.
Yeah.
And Butch Berry.
Who's a fine man.
He said, that's enough of that silly nonsense. It's time to get to work. That was sort of the tone. What did you say?
What would you say the one way to fix the special teams is?
Is for Rosberg to just do it himself.
Yeah.
He's going to have to roll up his sleeves
and
fix this thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was a heck of a press conference.
Jerry Rosburg, Phil, and I mean this in the nicest way. This is a compliment, actually. He's not a QZ man.
No, he's not. No, he's more of like a blue and black flannel kind of shirt. Yeah. That's how I would best describe it. Oh, hey, Ben Swanson. What's going on?
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah. You're a Jerry Rosburg man.
Yes. We have the same fortitude.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Quiet voice.
Yeah, just out there working on the land.
Yeah.
Chopping down trees.
He was like, where exactly was I when George Payton called me? I was looking at the lake drinking my black coffee.
That is something I would be doing.
on the deck that I built with my bare hands.
Yeah. After I killed a grizzly bear.
Yeah, Jerry Rosburg is a football coach's football coach.
Yeah. He's
a man's man.
He was like, this sport's in my soul.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, I got a stain on my quarter zip.
That you think that's how I am?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I always have like a nice little
he's different than us.
Tied to go pen.
That's
just
true.
In case, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what that even is.
No, you don't need that. You just keep going.
He washes his clothes in the river with the rocks. But that's kind of what this team needs right now.
That's right. They need somebody tough.
Yeah. What'd you think about the way he sort of addressed the Dwayne Stukes situation?
Well, first of all, it was refreshingly honest, I thought.
It was.
Hey, it wasn't good enough. The offensive line play wasn't good enough. A lot of things around here have not been good enough. He said, what did he say? I find it hard to believe that the Broncos have lost 14 consecutive games to the Chiefs. Yeah. He didn't hold back any punches, Phil. This guy was blunt.
If you're listening right now and you don't know how he referred to Dwayne Stukes, tell everybody. How did he do it?
Without a name.
He
didn't really refer to him at all.
He was like, one of the metrics that I follow says our special teams is 32nd in the NFL.
Yep.
And last time I checked, there's 32 teams in the NFL.
That's right.
I think you passed out when he said that.
I just fell backwards. I fainted. Oh.
That was a...
Yeah, you caught me, which was nice of you.
Of course, because I keep one eye on you and one eye on the press conference at all times. So.
You're tweeting also.
You do a lot of tweeting in the press conference. You're following the whole thing.
I think this team they need some of that directness, some of that sternness.
Do you think Jerry Rosburg's ever hugged someone in his life?
Oh my goodness.
I would say yes.
Maybe his kids.
I would say yes, but I think that it's unlikely that the players are getting a lot of hugs this week. I think it's kind of a tough love situation. He did talk about, hey, here's the relationships I built with players along the years, players you never even heard of, Phil.
Yeah.
But it's kind of this tough love. Hey, I'm going to expect a lot out of you. I'm going to push you hard, and we're going to get better. He's closer to the Vic Fangio
most definitely
model of old school. You got your lunch pail, a factory,
your boots.
Yeah.
That is true. But he did talk about how this opportunity meant a lot to him, and he really thanked Broncos ownership for trusting him with this, and George Payton, and it was nice. That was a nice press conference.
Yeah, it was among the more entertaining I've seen in a long time.
He got up there and started talking, and 13 minutes later,
we got to ask questions.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in a while.
No.
I think Ben Swanson,
his press conference was longer than Greg Penner and George Payton's press conference from the day before.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's wild.
Yeah. That is.
But, we've heard from Greg Penner and George Payton before. I never heard this man speak before. So it's nice to get to know him a little bit.
Do you think he, like being as competitive as he is, you think that he's like, I got to beat that?
I got to beat it?
Yeah, I got to beat it.
No,
it was like,
well, he's not here to build his resume. He hasn't even had a resume.
No, what would it say? Had 26-minute introductory press conference. Parentheses, beat Greg Penner and George Payton.
Didn't have 32nd ranked special teams. Parentheses, there are 32 teams.
Yeah. Improved Broncos special teams from 32nd to 31 over final 2 weeks.
You're feisty, huh?
Oh,
Rosburg's gotten you going a little bit.
Yeah, I liked it. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about this game against the Chiefs and like if there's even anything that you're interested in looking at. Like how do they respond? Maybe do they bounce back a little? Maybe they don't fall behind by a bunch of touchdowns early on.
It'd be a nice change.
It'd be a nice idea. So we'll just talk about that a little bit. But the main thing we want to talk about, Eric, and that's why we'll talk about it first. That's
how you do
it. We'll talk about that first. Most
important thing first.
Just maybe some of the head coaching candidates that are out there that could be good options for this Broncos team and what the characteristics they bring to the table. What are the Broncos looking for? What does this team need? I think maybe we'll get into a little bit of that.
If Jerry lets somebody else have the job.
Yeah. What if they beat the Chiefs?
Our friend Mike Kliss said if Jerry Rosburg goes 2-0, the search is over.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I think he was being a little bit
I think it was funny.
Facetious.
What was that?
A sea fish.
Yeah. Mike Kliss was being a sea fish.
Yeah.
What color?
Probably like a nice purpley blue.
Yeah.
Shimmering scales.
Yeah. Some nice scales. Just swimming around. Down in the sea.
In the coral.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Mike, silly Mike down there. What are you doing down there, you sea fish?
You'd be a clownfish.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Just kind of tell me why you think that would be a good idea for me.
Because you're a clown.
It's a clown question, bro.
Yeah.
What would Ben Swanson be?
Ben Swanson would be like maybe a nice sea anemone. I didn't say that right.
I think you did.
Anemone?
Yeah.
Anemone?
I don't know how to say it.
Anemone.
And what would you... Well, I'm just curious what you think of yourself.
I'd be a great white shark.
Oh, yeah. Just swimming around. Killing.
Yeah.
You're a killer.
Fish are friends, not food.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Got it.
No, Swanson would be a sea turtle. That's what he would be.
Ooh, yeah, that's accurate.
You ever seen Finding Nemo?
Moves a little slow.
He's like, dude, we're in the riptide.
That's a good impression.
What happens if Swanson like kind of flips over and he's stuck on it?
We'd flip him back.
You would?
Yeah.
As a great white shark, you'd be like, user, well, how do you do it?
I'd use my teeth.
Get upside down?
I don't.
Sometimes. Not in the.
It's possible.
Get caught in the rip?
Yeah. I don't know is it possible to happen or not? Yes or no?
I think so.
I think so.
Fact check maybe.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Anemone? I think that's right.
And what does a clownfish do? Like, what is it kind of?
It touches the butt.
A what?
You ever seen Finding Nemo?
It's been a long time.
No, that's why that's what happens to Nemo. He tries to touch the boat, but he calls it a butt, I think.
Oh. But Nemo's not a clownfish, is he?
I think so.
Oh, dang. I didn't know.
Isn't
I'd be the star of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, clownfish.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. I like it. But not because I'm.
But you'd be the dad clownfish, like the scared one.
Oh, got it. Scared?
You scared?
Eric, before we dive into our heated discussion here, we need to tell people about how they can get involved in the show.
Oh, yeah, well, you have to do that. It's critical.
Yeah. So why don't you do it?
Phil, I'm glad you asked. You can leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
Neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
Neutralzoneshow@gmail.com. Or, Phil, you can leave a voicemail, 707-NEUTRAL. You call right in. There's a couple of beeps. Leave a voicemail. We'll play it right here on the air.
Very nice.
Swanson's making some weird noises.
Yeah, were you trying to imitate the beep?
I hiccuped.
Yeah, well, hit the hiccup button.
It says cough, so I thought there was.
You didn't have a hiccup one?
No button.
Yours doesn't have a
Mine
hiccup.
says
one.
hiccup.
Yeah, well, so does mine.
Mine says cough. I have to do that, so.
You can tweet at us directly on Twitter at Aric DiLalla with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH, not to be confused with FILL.
No.
It's kind of a non-traditional spelling.
Yeah, for both of us.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Or Phil at Broncos Podcasts.
Podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
Podcasts.
So those are the ways you can get involved in the show. Or Phil, one of your favorites, you can comment on our official YouTube channel.
You just teed that up perfectly, Aric.
And now you're going to do some reading, which is, it's, we try to get you to do a little bit of it every day.
It's
try to get you to do some of it every day, and you'll get there.
It makes it fun.
Chapter 1.
Kenny Miller's That's when there's an R at the end. I'm not sure what it means. Y'all are great at keeping me up to date with the Broncos. Henry, Jerry Jeudy seems to be a huge help on my fantasy team. He don't care about your fantasy team. No, he's
he might. We don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. He has been playing well. I just think he needs a few more targets, if it's possible. I don't know if it is. Vicky says, I'm listening to the recording. I don't know what that means. Son Johnson says, give him Cole.
Who, the Broncos?
I think maybe
the holiday gifts.
Yeah, the holiday gifts. I don't know for who he means, but
whom?
He just said for whom.
Nathaniel Hackett did not get the rabbit's foot that we.
He didn't.
No.
It got lost, I think.
Darn Santa.
Yeah. It may be like he was coming down the chimney and it got caught on something and it's like in his chimney still.
Ooh.
Forgot to bring it to Los Angeles.
Or yeah, maybe it went to his home in Denver.
Oh.
He needed it in LA.
Yeah, that's true. And then the last one I wanted to mention here, this one is from Alfonso Castenzi. And it just says, Senator DiLalla. And I'm just sort of...
Why?
Yeah, why do you think that means? Maybe was it the haircut?
I don't know. Is that how smart I sound?
It's possible. Yeah. Do you sound political, maybe? Maybe you just like, you don't really have a... You just play both sides a little.
Oh,
like you're like sort of
like a hedging situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Senator DiLalla.
I like it.
It has a nice ring to it. I don't know if people can get over the Aric non-traditional spelling, but the DiLalla they can.
You can
get
yeah, that. That's right.
Yeah. So, and usually you just refer to Senator.
Just Senator.
Yeah, or just Senator. That would be nice.
I'd appreciate it if for the rest of the show you just refer to me as Senator.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
What would your job in government be?
President. What do you think about that? What do you think of the United States? Yeah.
Got it.
What do you think?
You started as like this Secretary of Agriculture, and there was just like a terrible thing that happened.
Orange juice,
and you were like 18th in line to the throne, and you made it.
Throne?
The throne?
Yeah, it's essentially a throne.
Oh,
the presidency. If you don't think they got a nice chair in the White House, you're insane.
Lumbar support or no?
Yeah, I think so. You'd need it.
Yeah, I would need some nice lumbar. It could be nice. Yeah. And I would whip up some votes.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah.
Bill might be too old to hold the presidency.
Oh, yeah. You think so?
You look good for 123.
Thank you. Sort of like a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you want to get into our first topic here?
Might as well.
Okay. Well, the Broncos, of course, fired Nathaniel Hackett earlier this week. That means that they're in the market for a new head coach. Yeah. They're accepting resumes.
Oh,
I already put mine in.
Yeah. How do you think that's going to go?
I don't know if I saw it on LinkedIn.
Were you bummed that they went with Jerry instead of you for these final two games?
Yeah. I was like, hey, I think Edro, and that makes sense, go there first. But then, I mean,
you haven't watched Broncos postgame live?
I was available. I don't know.
Was it live?
You have seniority.
That's the name of the show.
Broncos postgame sometimes live.
Yeah, it's Broncos. It's
normally live.
Yeah, it's Broncos postgame live. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah. You were like, did you even watch it? I got some really good ideas.
I do. I said, let's do the easy plays.
Yep.
If you thought Rosburg's press conference was good, you could have. Yeah. You wouldn't even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have gone minimum 27 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, if you got onto LinkedIn and it was like, oh, Broncos head coach, like who do you think would be some good candidates?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if it's like what we're looking for, and it's like you are currently the head coach at Michigan. Like, do you think it says that or no?
It
could say that.
It really might.
It could say that. It could say you have past experience being a head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
It could say that.
Yeah.
It could say you're currently the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
I mean, these are like the requirements.
Yeah, let's discuss some of these guys, Phil.
Yeah.
That have kind of been put out there through some various media reports, some speculation about who could be.
You want to go one at a time, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, well, do you want to go candidates first or what they should be looking for?
Candidates first.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think you got to start with the top two that are kind of these, I don't know, you would say the white whale of this.
The white shark.
I'm the shark.
Great white shark.
Yeah. I think.
Oh, that's what you are.
The white whale is like Captain Ahab.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
that's true. No, I was trying to say great white shark, like the shark for the head coaching spot. You're the shark of the podcast.
Yeah.
They need the shark for coaching.
Right. I think you've seen Sean Payton's name thrown around a lot, and Jim Harbaugh as kind of these two candidates that the Broncos have to pursue, at least try to get to take this job. And so why don't we start with those two?
Yeah, I think that's a good spot to start. Let's talk about Jim Harbaugh first off.
Okay.
What do you think that he would bring to the table here? And do you think that is a good avenue to go down?
Well, he has the success, the proven track record, which to me, if we talk more about what should the Broncos be looking for, a proven track record should be part of that. They need a head coach, not just, in my opinion, with head coaching experience, but good head coaching experience that you've done it, that you've taken a team to the playoffs, that you've shown you can compete for Super Bowls. Jim Harbaugh obviously did that in San Francisco. He took the Niners to the Super Bowl. If there wasn't something funny that happened in that in that building.
What happened?
Something happened
after the concert at halftime.
Yeah, something happened.
There
was a blackout. The Niners had a big lead. Poof.
Yeah, what happened?
There it goes.
Do you think the Harbaugh parents did something? They were like, John, you got to be nice to John.
Yeah. Something happened there. But he has experience leading a team. He took over a bad San Francisco 49ers team. I think they went 3-13 the previous year, and they quickly rebounded. I believe they made the NFC Championship in year one.
Ooh.
And then went
what, you said 3-13?
I think they went 3-13 the year before Harbaugh took over. Broncos, of course, are currently 4-11. Maybe it might be too good of a situation.
They were 6-10.
In what year?
Okay.
The year before him?
Yeah, 2010.
So just
don't
like
double,
just kind of like double what you
were
were just suggesting.
Then they went 13-3.
With him?
With him.
In year one.
Ah, okay. Sean Payton. No, it is.
And went to the conference championship.
In year one.
Lost.
And then the next year they went to the Super Bowl.
Correct.
And lost.
Correct.
Because of something happened.
Wait, say that again. So his first year he went 3-13?
No, 13-3.
13-3. Oh,
they beat the Saints in the divisional round.
Still want to call for Sean Payton?
No, I thought you said 3-13.
Beat the Saints in the divisional round.
That's Sean Payton.
His first year, he went 13-3.
Correct.
You sound highly educated talking about this.
Nice. You're the one who said that he went 3-13. I'm all confused.
No, I said they
went before. Yeah, the year before.
Because I don't know about anything that happened before Jim.
Yeah, we're just talking about Jim.
Yeah.
So that's the part you know.
Yeah. Then, of course, he's gone to Michigan. Some struggles there early. He's turned things around there. They've got a chance here to win a national championship and get to a national title game with a game against TCU. Phil, he's kind of this ultimate. You view him as, he's got experience on both sides of the ball, former quarterback, obviously has a good defensive mind, but you view him as this tough guy, this disciplinarian. He's going to change the culture. You're going to play mistake-free football. The fundamentals are going to be really good. He kind of fits in that box of, bringing some accountability to this roster, to this team, building a culture, an identity, all those things that Greg Penner mentioned. you see that, I think, in a Jim Harbaugh-led football team. And like I said, he's done it before at the highest level.
Yeah. And he's like built, I think that the thing that sticks out to me the most is that he changes places. You know, where he did that at San Diego, he did that at Stanford, he got Andrew Luck there, and all of a sudden, boom, they took off.
Yep.
You know, and then he went to the 49ers. I think he went 13-3 his first year there. Then he went to Michigan, you know, and for so long they could never beat Ohio State. Boom. Back-to-back years they beat Ohio State. That kind of turnaround, that is what excites me. And then I think that you talk about that disciplinary and the accountability. He kind of has that aura about him that when he kind of walks in, you're like, oh, let's sit up a little bit straighter. Let's like attention, you know, like that kind of thing. I think that kind of mindset, which is similar to what Jerry's going to bring these last 2 weeks here, I think that would be really healthy for this team.
Yeah. Swanson, how old is Jim Harbaugh?
He looks great. If you just ask me,
the khaki is really nice.
He looks good. That jawline is still there. You know,
59.
So he can coach for however long he wants.
Yeah.
But I think one of the impressive things about Jim is that even after he left Stanford, the foundation he left in place, and David Shaw's a great coach as well, taking nothing away from him, but
he's part of Jim's staff.
Jim Harbaugh left a really good foundation in place. And so I think, you know, the Broncos need somebody that is going to put a foundation in place that lasts longer than just that coach being here. You know, you hope that the next coach is here for
a long
10 to 15 years, has that long run, but that's not always the case. But you've got to, and that should be mentioned with Jim Harbaugh, is that he has, I don't want to say outstayed his welcome, but there's been tension to end some of these. So like San Francisco, there was there's sort of a power struggle or some tension there. I think you've got to consider that as you make a decision, but he leaves a strong foundation in place. And I think that's something that is a pro in his column.
Well, we know that whoever the Broncos bring in, that person is going to report directly to Greg Penner. So I do think that if there's any sort of a power struggle, I mean, the fact that this guy is going to be reporting straight to the owner, that suggests to me like they're going to have some power.
Yeah. And we don't know exactly who's going to have final roster control. It could depend on who the coach is. It might just be George Payton regardless. That was not asked in the press conference. I'm assuming we'll find that out once a coach is hired, but I don't think that's a reason to avoid him as a candidate.
No. I'm just saying whatever happens here, this person is not reporting to George Payton.
No, I know. So, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying.
Like this is so like, like say if it is Jim, he shouldn't be worried about like a power dynamic here because he'll be reporting directly to the owner.
Now it is worth noting. We mentioned Jim Harbaugh as a candidate. He has been pretty steadfast after last year when he interviewed with one team, toured the Vikings. Yeah,
I think right
toward the facility. I think there was interest from another team as well. He said, "I'm done with this. I'm not going back to the NFL. I'm not interested. This is not going to be an annual thing where I am, poking my nose around and seeing, what team could I go to." So he's maintained that recently. I'm happy at Michigan. I'm staying at Michigan. So it should be noted that is kind of where he is. He's not in the same mode as some of these coaches where you're actively looking for other opportunities.
But sometimes when there's smoke, Eric.
Is there smoke?
Well, I do think so. Like when your name is out there and like that didn't just like come out of nowhere, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, I think his name has been linked more to the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep. Where he played quarterback.
He's in their Ring of Fame, Ring of Honor. I don't know what they call it there. But he was linked to that a few weeks ago.
How big is his name there? Like how big is it? Like compared to like say like a Peyton Manning?
Bigger.
Oh, it is.
Well, he doesn't have a statue.
Oh,
but Jim did some good things there as a quarterback.
I remember the Hail Mary he threw against the Steelers.
Yep.
Almost was caught.
Yeah.
That should have probably been caught.
That would have sent him to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
94, I believe.
So you got to he will be one of the more desired candidates if he chooses
95 maybe
to leave Michigan. So it's not like you're just going to easily be able to get him, but I think he's one of those guys you got to consider.
Yeah, strongly. I do think that. I think that everything that Greg Penner mentioned in his press conference, that's what Jim brings.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a leader. He's going to be somebody that demands respect. He's going to be somebody that gets the most out of all of the players. Like to me, Eric, when the Broncos were looking for a coach last time around, there was so much talk of like, we need somebody young and an innovator and somebody with a bright offensive mind. Like there's the way that they were talking about what they were looking for is like night and day different from what they're talking about now.
Right.
And like when you're talking about like a young innovator, somebody like creative like that to me suggests like a up and coming coordinator or an up and coming QB coach or somebody like that coming up the ranks in the league. But when you're talking about leadership, accountability, discipline, that kind of stuff, I know that George Paton said that they're open to all kinds of candidates. But to me, the way Greg Penner was talking about it suggested experience.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's just sort of reading between the lines a little bit, but that's what I inferred there. Yeah. So Jim Harbaugh.
The other guy with a lot of experience who has won a world championship is Sean Payton. Obviously won a Super Bowl with the Saints back in 2010. Hurts me. Poor Peyton. He did that to Peyton.
He did. Well, was it Tracy Porter? Yeah. He kind of did that to Peyton.
Yeah, but Sean Payton did that to Peyton.
He did the onside kick.
Yeah.
And that kind of
cheating.
That kind of sparked the whole thing.
Do you think it's a little cheat? It's kind of.
Well, it's in the rule book.
Yeah, I don't like it. One positive would be that your coach and GM would both be named Peyton.
That's true. It would sort of simplify.
It'd be really
Peyton
kind of confusing.
They could have like a little sort of a show maybe or something.
Get Peyton Manning in there.
P&P.
Triple P.
Yeah. Oh, Peyton Manning, you think?
Yeah, get him in there too.
A lot of people want Peyton Manning involved.
Yeah.
You know.
They do. Like you.
Huh?
You want him involved, right?
Oh, I think that anytime you could get a guy like Peyton involved, that's a good idea.
Sean Payton?
Peyton Manning.
Oh, got it.
I think.
Sean Payton, obviously an offensive savant.
Mm-hmm.
Nice word.
I would say. Would you say genius or no?
Well, I think genius is overused sometimes.
Because I sometimes refer to Vic Fangio as a defensive mastermind.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, he's not a mastermind. And I was like, what? Yes, he is.
What's the level of mastermind?
He's a mastermind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
So with Sean, and Greg Penner did mention this at the end. You know, he mentioned CEO, accountability, culture. He also mentioned offensive identity. And Sean Payton would certainly bring that. He worked with Drew Brees, helped Drew Brees maintain a high level of play as he got later in his career, which obviously if you're looking for someone who can quote unquote fix Russell Wilson, that is something that is, I think, appealing. It's appealing. Russ he's a different quarterback than Drew Brees. I don't think he's going to play in the pocket the same way that Drew did, but maybe.
But of course, both of them are of similar height.
Stature.
Oh, is that the word we use?
I think that's nicer.
Sorry, I didn't mean.
I mean, it's just factual.
Is a nice way to say that.
Sean, of course, has a lot of experience. I do think it's worth considering, one, that the Saints did not always have a ton of success there. They had some years where they went 7-9 and missed the playoffs. I think there was a stretch where they missed the playoffs 3 consecutive years, and he was kind of on the hot seat. And then they had that resurgence where they were the 1 seed, I think, at least 1 year. They were really good.
There were a few years where they were the favorite to come out of the NFC, but some crazy stuff happened in the playoffs and they ended up losing in the divisional round like a bunch
because they got blasted.
Or like the Vikings would throw a miracle.
Or no pass interference was called.
Yeah, that kind of stuff would happen to him.
But listen, we've heard Sean Payton talk on, I think, was it Colin Cowherd's show? Hey, here's how I would help Russell Wilson. So clearly it's on his mind.
He's said that he's interested in getting back in coaching, right?
Exactly.
Unlike Jim Harbaugh.
And there was this sentiment that he maybe would just go back to New Orleans recently, but that has been kind of...
Yeah, there's been some notion that Dennis Allen is going to return.
Yep.
Of course, former Broncos defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen.
No, I think there's two things with Sean, and he's really appealing just because I think you'd instantly, whether with Russ or if you eventually have to go in a different direction, I think Sean Payton would be able to get the most out of that quarterback. I think he'd probably be refreshed, ready to go, new environment. Two potential hurdles I see, not that they're insurmountable, but one, you've heard Vic Fangio linked to Sean Payton as his preferred defensive coordinator. Now that report said that doesn't mean he has to work with him, which I don't think there's a way that Vic Fangio comes back to Denver as the defensive coordinator. To me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I agree. I think that it's a little bit too soon for somebody because people are going to say, oh, well, Wade Phillips did it. But there was a long time period there where
20 years.
Yeah, bygones could become bygones, and
what's a bygone?
It's like a gone and then it goes by.
Smart.
Isn't that how you? I mean, that is literally what it is.
That's true.
It's not like the person who fired Wade Phillips was
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the building directly every day,
correct.
You know, so it wouldn't be like a George Payton, like, oh, hey, Vic, what's going on?
You're back.
That would be a little bit uncomfortable.
And there's still players on this team that had Vic as their head coach.
Yes.
Which would be, I think, uncomfortable.
Yes,
that was part of, it didn't end up happening, but when Gary Kubiak was mentioned as an offensive coordinator that was for Vic, right?
Yes.
That to me was always a little bit weird because I thought you would have some players, and not a ton, granted, because most of them were gone, but you'd be
but Gary wasn't fired, like.
So no. But I think that there could be this natural
power struggle, or
not a power, but players would look and be like,
"You're my real head coach."
Yeah, that was my coach, or hey, I think that guy's a better coach than this guy.
Yeah. And
I just think that gets a little awkward.
Like if Vic told them something and they didn't like it, and then they went to Gary and they're like, well, can I do this?
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like a mommy daddy situation. Yeah. And if you didn't like what
daddy says,
you went to mommy.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. That would be really, really bad.
You ever done that or no?
Yeah, I've done that all the time.
That's how you get the answer you want.
All the time.
It's a smart play.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever did that or no?
I'm a good kid, Phil.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. People just say yes to me.
Oh, because you're a senator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to make it good for them to say yes.
You tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
And they give you what you want.
Let me tell you why you saying yes to me would be good for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Solid.
So that's one thing. I do think if Sean wants to play that style of defense, keeping Ejiro Evero here would make some sense. So you could maybe have that pairing. The other option, the other conflict, of course, or hurdle is that Sean Payton is still under contract with the New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
And I think some people are just saying, oh, they'll figure it out. I don't know that that's necessarily true. The Saints can play hardball if they want.
Most definitely.
They can say, we want a first round pick and we want a second round pick. Or we want multiple first round picks. I mean, you think back to when John Gruden got traded, from the Raiders to the Buccaneers, right?
Correct.
That was a lot of draft capital.
Yeah, what was it, Swanson? What was that
multiple
trade?
First round picks.
That's what you believe, so technically that's true.
Yeah, you can be whatever.
Technically that's true. The Wi-Fi in here, it's kind of like a...
What did the compensation...
Okay. It was 2 first-round picks.
I'm a genius.
2 second-round picks.
Even more of a genius.
And $8 million in
cash. My goodness.
$8 million?
Circa
2002.
Ooh, with inflation.
Let's do the inflation calculator.
Yeah, get the
$72 million.
Like a first-round pick back then. Today, what is that even worth? I mean,
7th rounder now.
It'd be $13 million today.
Inflation's crazy.
Wow.
Makes you think.
It's champagne. It's not Russell Wilson.
So that it's still an option, I think, worth pursuing, figuring out, hey, is this worth it? What's it going to cost? Hey, can we talk to Sean? Because I'd imagine you have to go through the Saints to arrange that. Can we talk to Sean and just see kind of what his plan would be here? Is he even interested?
Yeah.
He was very vocal about there's certain organizations I just don't want to go to, that they are disasters. And
that's interesting. What do you think about that? Because I would think that a lot of coaches out there probably feel like I can fix anything.
Well, I think that that's true in a lot of circumstances, but you look at some of these organizations and it's just like no matter who's there, they cannot fix it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
that was an honest sort of.
I don't think the Broncos are quite in that category, but I do think that some coaches might look at the Broncos and be like, they haven't been in the playoffs in 7 years. We don't know what we're going to get out of Russ next year. This roster, who knows if it's as talented as we think it is. I mean, there could be coaches that look at this and just say, I'm not so sure if that's the job I want.
Well, just to play the flip side of that, I would say that the ownership group that's in place here will provide all the resources necessary to win. So I think that ultimately the coach is going to be reporting to ownership. That bond and that connection there, I do think that this ownership group is going to be aggressive. They want to win badly. I mean, they're successful people. They've always been successful. They want to be successful at this, so they won't.
Successful.
They want to be successful. Yeah. So I think they'll stop at nothing.
When you think about organizations that Sean Payton's talking about, I think more of where like owners are meddling.
Yeah, too much.
Where like you see in Indianapolis, right? Like Jim Irsay's making quarterback decisions in terms of who should start each week. That's a little bit much.
Maybe too much. Yeah.
And Greg Penner, while he is involved in this coaching search and is leading it, he's still been very clear he's going to leave the football to the football people.
Yeah. I do think that this is still a desirable.
I agree too, but I think Sean, it was just interesting that he talked about that. And I just think the Broncos need to get back to their winning ways here soon so that you don't get – the Broncos have the second longest playoff drought in the NFL.
When people talk about the winning tradition and that kind of – it's been a long time.
It has.
So I do think that
I mean, we're closing in on – we're not there yet, but we're getting closer to 10 years since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that and like if you just remove Peyton Manning from this equation, it's been a really long time. You know what I mean? Like if you just remove those four, like
if you remove the good stuff, then there's a lot of bad things.
Yeah, but I'm talking about sustained success.
If you remove 97 and 98 in 2015, this team's never won a Super Bowl.
Yes, but with John, they had like a long period of time there where they were really successful.
Yeah.
That's sustained success. That's a winning tradition. That is.
I'm just saying if you remove 97, 98 in 2015, they've never won a Super Bowl.
That is true. That's
a fact.
That is a fact.
If you remove all the seasons except 97, 98, and 2015, they've never played a season where they haven't won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. That's true. They should have just played those ones.
Yeah, that could be.
Just the Super Bowl season.
We don't count the other ones.
Yeah. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. Phil, should we keep talking through some other candidates?
Sure.
Okay. I think another guy, it's more former head coaches, two more that I think pop up in my mind.
Tell it to me right now.
Dan Quinn is one of them. Currently the Cowboys defensive coordinator. He obviously took the Falcons to a Super Bowl, had some success there.
People believe he was the runner-up last year here in Denver.
Yep. He has spent time with Russ in Seattle when he was the Seahawks defensive coordinator. He obviously is a
Super Bowl with him.
Yep. He's a defensive-minded head coach. Again, I think you kind of hear him described not as like player friendly necessarily, but he definitely builds great relationships with the guys in the locker room, sets a tone of accountability. He's not quite to the disciplinarian level. I think that like Jim Harbaugh would be, but he demands respect. He demands a certain standard. And I think meets those same qualities that you mentioned that Greg Penner talked about on Monday.
He really built up the Falcons, while he was there, got them to a Super Bowl that they probably should have won.
I think that that's fair. He's now leading a very successful defense in Dallas. Obviously, some of the league's best playmakers there, and Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons is there.
Trayvon Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs is there.
So he's another option.
Randy knows him.
Randy does know him. I think George Payton, I believe, knows him.
Us?
Are you even listening to the show,
Swanson?
What are you even
doing, Swanson?
Oh my gosh. We got a podcast supervisor who doesn't even listen to the podcast.
Just spent 20 minutes talking about Russ.
Okay.
Sorry, where were you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think he would also be I'm not sure he would like, wow, like people wouldn't be running through the streets screaming, oh my gosh, we got Dan Quinn, but he would be a very solid hire. And I think in a lot of ways, he would remind me of kind of like a John Fox.
He would.
Type hire.
That's what I was going to say.
Where he's an adult. He is going to bring stability here. He's going to bring a culture. He's going to instill accountability. And he's just going to get this thing back on the tracks.
Calm things down.
Yeah.
Some stability.
Yeah. He's just going to, it's kind of been a roller coaster the last 6-7 years. He's just going to get things back on the tracks. He's going to, and you know, John Fox, of course, was not able to quite get over the hump to win a Super Bowl, but he, he was responsible for helping to bring Peyton Manning here. He was responsible for a lot of success, 4 division championships. He was a critical part of the Broncos eventually winning a Super Bowl. And I think I view Dan Quinn kind of in that similar mold.
Just real quickly with the roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster, but a roller coaster still on the track.
This one wasn't. This one hasn't been.
Oh, really?
It's kind of a dangerous one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I took some turns too fast.
That's why people have been like Hackett got tossed off the roller coaster, Fangio, it's Joseph.
Were they not wearing their harness properly or it was just, that's how dangerous.
It's just crazy.
It is a
They landed safely, of course, but
of course,
just kind of people are being ejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vic still hasn't landed.
He's still in the air.
Yeah. Vance landed in Arizona, but
that's true.
Yeah.
We'll see
Vic
where Nathaniel lands. He's only been.
Yeah. It's been a few days.
A couple days.
Yeah. It's just so fresh.
What would you do if you were let go? What would you do this week?
Oh, probably just like hang out at my house. I wouldn't want to go out anywhere in public.
But would you, like I was talking to somebody who said, I'd head straight to the beach. Like I'd be on a plane to Cabo.
Just out of here.
Just out of here.
But he's got a family and stuff.
They're on break though.
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh? Yeah.
It's interesting. It's
what airline would you take though?
Not Southwest.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
You could definitely take United if you wanted.
You think about like, United would probably be the best option.
That would be really nice.
You just think about like Nate's whole family moves here. Kids go to another school.
It is really hard as a coaching family.
It's tough.
That is true of the profession though. Just if you get into coaching, yeah. I mean,
but you're signing up for that. Your family is not
correct.
Signing up for that.
As Dion said, you're either getting hired or you're getting fired.
Yeah.
So
he also said, give whatever the opposite of what people give you.
What?
Give the opposite of whatever people give you. He said, if people give you hate, give them love.
Oh, what if they give you love?
That's what people were asking.
Kind of makes you.
He didn't answer.
He doesn't have to answer. He's prime.
I was like, where are you? Because I thought you weren't hard to find.
Yeah. What do you mean?
He's not. Why aren't you? I know, but why aren't you answering the question then?
Oh, well, maybe he didn't.
Maybe he didn't see it.
He didn't get it. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
The transfer portal.
Reviewing restaurants.
It's true. He went to my favorite breakfast spot up there.
We got to get Dion to come review Brick Brew.
That's true. He could come on this podcast. I saw he did like the Shannon Sharp. I don't know if he wanted to come on.
Kind of the same level of clout.
Yeah.
With Dan Quinn, Phil, I would say there's a couple things that are potential hurdles, things to think about.
You like to build it up and then you bring it back down.
I'm just trying to give people
Sean
a fair.
And then you bring him back down.
I'm trying to give everyone a fair and honest evaluation of these candidates.
I like it.
With Dan Quinn, obviously most of the success they had in Atlanta was when Kyle Shanahan was there.
Yes.
And so I think you've got to separate what was Dan Quinn and what was Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, he made Matt Ryan an MVP there for a season. So that's one thing. Can you figure that out? You're going to have a good offensive system in place. That's going to be the case no matter who you hire. And then also just the Falcons, they had that short period of success, but it was kind of bookended by not so successful seasons. And once it went downhill, it did not really show the signs that it was going to get better.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn was dismissed, of course, I think in season. And so you just kind of wonder, hey, is this a guy that can sustain success for a long period of time?
And also, if you really like him, why didn't you just hire him last time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There must have been some hesitation or some sort of thought that you were like, oh, Nathaniel's better fit.
Yeah, and again, you said this. What they're looking for this year is different than what they're looking for last year.
Yeah, but if this guy just blew you out of the water, though, you'd be like, let's hire this guy.
But like last year, like if I was looking for someone that could like crawl into a small space, I'd be like, maybe I want Ben Swanson. But maybe the next year.
Well, what happened when you brought in Ben Swanson to try and do it?
He didn't do it.
What happened?
He didn't do it.
Did he try to do it?
He tried. But he didn't do a good job.
Got stuck.
Yeah, not small enough.
Not small enough.
But then the next year,
for someone even smaller.
Next year, my job's changed. I want someone that can reach really high to get something off a top shelf. Like, Phil, you weren't the right guy to fit in that small space. You're the right guy, since you're the size of 1.5 normal people, to get this off this top shelf.
And so maybe
the criteria has changed, even though
people.
Yeah, the criteria has changed, even though the candidate has not.
But the job is the same.
I think the job is different now than it was a year ago.
Oh, really? Head coach.
I think what the head coach needs to do is different.
Let me ask you another question.
Last year, the head coach was supposed to come in and have energy and
get Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Or another quarterback.
You're crazy.
Get the offense going. Get the offense going. That's what I'm saying.
Slip of the tongue there.
I just want to get the offense going, you know? I will say, Aric, one thing I'm wondering about with Dan Quinn is, like you mentioned, he was the defensive coordinator in Seattle when Russ was there.
Yeah.
I wonder what that relationship is like. And we heard George Payton say that the head coach they're bringing in isn't there to just fix Russell Wilson.
Yep.
But do you think that they run some of these names by Russell Wilson? Do you think that he's involved in any way in this? Or do you think, like, I would say, like, hey, before you bring in a coach that used to be in the same place as Russ, you would talk with him.
I'm sure they're going to, Greg Penner, I'm sure is going to run a very thorough search, talk to as many people as he possibly can to get insight and information. I would think they would talk to Russ before. If they bring in coaching candidates, it would not surprise me if Russ talks to them then. I don't know exactly what the rules are in terms of can you have current players. I don't know exactly how that works. Obviously, I would think Russ would no longer be in the building, given that it would be that portion of the offseason. But I'm sure you'll pick his brain and say, hey, what was it like playing for Dan?
Hey, we're thinking about bringing in Jim, like just sort of, not that his say would be the ultimate yes or no, but just sort of, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
It's a little different. Like basketball is a little different, just because there's fewer players and like the players sort of run the show. But you would certainly do that in basketball.
Yeah.
So I wonder if.
Other option, Phil, former head coach, is Frank Reich.
Yes.
He's been mentioned a little bit. He was just dismissed this year as the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Some success there, was able to make it to the playoffs. I think won a playoff game. The issue in Indianapolis, of course, was they never found stability at the quarterback position. Part of that was that Frank Reich, the quarterbacks he helped choose, Carson Wentz, did not have the success that he wanted. But he's probably more in that player-friendly category. Still a leader of men, very, I think he would handle a lot of the responsibilities of the job well, leading the team, being the face of the team, CEO, all that stuff. My question, of course, would be just, hey, the offense, he's an offensive-minded guy who called plays for a while this year, then gave it up, but the offense didn't work there. And so, can you sell hiring a guy who has an offensive background when the offense didn't play to the standards that it was supposed to?
I mean, the hard thing with all of these guys is if there's a head coaching candidate out there that's available to come join the Broncos, something at some point must have gone wrong for this person. Like Dan Quinn, it didn't work there, then he got fired. Frank Reich, it didn't work there, he got fired. Sean Payton retired. I mean, I guess
Payton and Harbaugh are in a little bit different.
A little bit different, yeah. But for them, like something happened in San Francisco, they didn't get along. He left there. So it's kind of like what we were just saying: you're hired or you're fired. Like if you coach somewhere long enough, something doesn't go right, and you get fired there. Yeah. So there's always going to be some sort of something that these guys have that they're going to be bringing with them wherever they go. So I do think that Frank Reich is a good coach. faced a tremendous challenge there when right before the season's about to start, Andrew Luck, the guy you've built everything around, is just says he's going to retire.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a tough situation because the rest of the roster seemingly was built for a run, and that's sort of what the Broncos faced for a long time here, where the roster was really good. You just needed that quarterback. And so when you're in that mode, you sort of say, okay, well, what's a quick fix that might just get us there, instead of being like, let's draft a guy and build this thing up. Instead of doing that, you just try to find a quick fix. And the Broncos did that for many years when they still had a Super Bowl defense, and it didn't work out. Of course, the Flacco and the Case Keenum and all this, same thing happened there in Indy. So I don't think that method necessarily leads to the most success.
Yeah. No, and I do think Reich could come in here and bring the same sort of stability that Quinn could, get things back on track, be that adult. He's that kind of father figure type guy that in some ways, like Jerry Rosburg is going to be for these final 2 weeks. I also, when I said ideally you'd have a coach that not only had coaching experience, but had
success,
the highest levels of success, that's where Reich maybe doesn't stack up quite as well with Dan Quinn, who made it to a Super Bowl, Jim Harbaugh, who made it to a Super Bowl, Sean Payton, who's won a Super Bowl. He's won a playoff game, I believe. And so you're still kind of banking on the hope that this is going to work. And to me, that's a tougher strategy for the Broncos because it's not quite the same as hiring a first-time head coach because you have someone who knows what he would do and how he would change things. But you're banking on the potential as opposed to what you've seen.
Yes.
And for this team that has struggled to find a coach that works for the last, 6 years, I think you've got to go with as close to a sure thing as you can get. Obviously, duh,
yeah.
Right?
But yes,
they'll do that if they can.
I do think the growing pains for this job they're just too high, especially for where this team is right now. They need somebody who comes in and they're like, this is how I do this.
Yep.
And then that's it. Not, I'm going to see if I like this. And then if not, I'll change it. And then if I don't like that, I'll change this. No, they need somebody to just come in and be like, this is how we do things. And that's it. And I know that this is how we do things.
Well, and kind of off that note, there's a bunch of other potential candidates that have been mentioned. A lot of them with no head coaching experience. Yeah, Evero.
D'Amico
Ryans in San Francisco. Shane Steichen in Philadelphia. Ben Johnson in Detroit. I mean, there's a lot of guys that could come in and be that next big thing. Talking about Evero, obviously the defensive players here love him. We've heard great things. I think he'll be a head coach. I have no doubt he'll be a head coach at some point in this league. Yeah, he's got that CEO mentality that I think you're going to need. If he were the coach here, I'd be interested to see, does he turn over defensive play calling duties? Whether maybe that's Christian Parker, who would be elevated in that case. I don't know. He's been a guy that people have been impressed with. But I do think that he is certainly a really strong candidate that the Broncos should consider as well, along with some of those other guys I just mentioned. But I just think there's going to be a big hurdle, even though, like you said, George Paton did not say it was a necessity to have experience. It's going to be a big hurdle to not have head coaching experience and get this job.
Yeah. I do think that they need to interview all of these people. Of course, really important to talk with a lot of minority candidates just to kind of get a diverse approach here to what this head coaching position, what it could ultimately be like. But I do think that at the end of the day, I think that certainly from our perspective, from a fan's perspective, what would get you most excited and most hyped up about, I think Harbaugh and Payton are sort of in their own sort of tier here. And then maybe the tier below that would be some people who have the head coaching experience. And then below that, those guys are going to bring a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done it before, when you come in, there's going to be some uncertainty there. And that would bring just sort of like uneasiness from the fan base, I would say.
Well, I think no matter who the coach is, even if it's Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh, I think that it's going to be kind of a wait and see, prove it type mentality from the fans, just because Russell Wilson came in this year and there was this sense that, hey, he's going to take us back to the playoffs. We're going to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
He was hyped up. The media, us included, were like, this is going to be great. Is he going to throw 35 touchdowns? Is he going to throw 40 touchdowns? And it just didn't happen. And so, even if Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton comes in and people are saying, man, the Broncos are saved. They've got their guy. They're going to be able to, things are going to turn around quickly here. If I were a fan, I'd be sitting there and saying, great, that's all well and good. I'm excited about this coaching hire. I hope they do well. I'm going to wait to see till week 1.
Yeah, but the doubts wouldn't be about coaching at that point, right? It would be all on Russ at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, that is all like, it's all, just is this going to work or not?
Yeah. Yes. You wouldn't be like, okay, now the Broncos are going to be really good.
Right.
I don't think so. But you would think, okay, now the coaching has been answered. Now the rest of it needs to get filled in.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I do think ultimately whoever comes in here, Russell Wilson's going to be the quarterback of this team, and they need to work together well, and they need to get the most out of him for this team to have success.
Yeah.
So, and hearing from Russ yesterday, he was very confident that things are going to get
right. Took the blame.
Yeah.
And he hasn't played well enough. I mean, he's been the first one to admit that. He has to be better doesn't matter who the head coach is. If Russ doesn't play better, it's not going to work. Doesn't matter.
It's not going to, at least for next year, it will not work. So that's a look. I mean, I think that's going to be an interesting process. Last year, they interviewed 10 people.
Yeah.
And then they narrowed it down to Hackett there.
Right.
But
and George Payton said maybe we could have cast a wider net. And I think people were confused by that just because they did interview 10 people. Yeah. I don't know if he meant consider more candidates before, like maybe it's possible they only considered 10 and they interviewed all of them.
Initially,
or it's possible he means in the second round, the only guy the Broncos gave a second interview to was Nathaniel Hackett. They did not wait to interview Dan Quinn again. They did not wait to interview Kevin O'Connell again.
Yeah. Who knows what he meant by that?
So we'll have to see.
Interviewing 10 people seems like a lot to me.
Yeah.
But maybe that was their initial net, was like, we're going to interview everybody we think.
Yeah.
So maybe that initial net could have been wider.
Right.
I do think there is a sense that people see some of the success from some of these other first-time coaches, and they're like, oh, why didn't we talk to them? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? But we've talked about this a little bit, just like some of those guys were just never going to be a possibility. Right. Like the Dable,
he was always going to New York. Yeah. I mean, that's part of why the lawsuit got fired, right? Is that Belichick texted that it was going to happen before it even happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, no. And granted, with this, there's not 10 former head coaches. So,
if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a look at the names that have definitely been swirling out there. But you never know. Maybe there's a dark horse, A lot of... if it were me, Eric, I would reach out to some people who are part of the Bronco family at the beginning of this process and just say, what do you think? Just get some information. I would call Mike Shanahan, and not for the job. I would just call him and be like, what do you think about some of these names? What do you think needs to be some of the characteristics that need to come in here? I'd call Peyton Manning and just say, what do you think a good coach brings to the table? What do you think about these guys? I would just trust some of the resources that you have here that are part of the Bronco family.
Yeah, I think information is certainly not a bad thing to have, and suggestions are not a bad thing to have. The key here will be for Greg Penner to whittle through that, because if Mike Shanahan says, hey, go with this guy, and Peyton Manning says, oh, I don't think you should go with that guy, go with this guy, and somebody on the committee says, hey, I really like this person.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
You've got to trust, I think, Greg Penner here to see through all that and make a determination based on his decades worth of corporate experience to figure out who's going to be the best person to lead this team and make that decision.
Yeah. And you asked him that question, Eric, in the press conference.
Yeah.
It was a nice question.
Thank you.
One of the best questions. You just said, hey, how is that going to, help you? And he's like, look, I've made big time hires before.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about this a lot. This is a people decision, not an X's and O's decision.
That's right.
That was English.
The people's paper people.
Yeah. Fact check English.
Yeah.
Are you even paying attention?
Yeah.
No, he's zoned out. He's
just like our listeners.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Listeners like this.
Yeah. The other thing we wanted to talk about here, and we don't have to spend too much time on this, but just sort of heading into this Chiefs game, Jerry Rosburg taking over. How are you approaching this game, Aric, from both you personally and where do you think the fans are?
Me personally?
Just sort of like, I mean, do you even...
Well, listen, it would be a great little trivia tidbit if Jerry Rosburg was the one to finally snap the streak against the Chiefs. I don't think it's entirely likely given that you're going to Arrowhead, which is an incredibly difficult place to play. The Chiefs are still trying to get the 1 seed. You're a banged up football team here in Denver. But I think 16 people did not practice on Wednesday. Some of those were personal, not injury related, but still it's
NIR.
The beat up football team. So everything's against the Broncos. I think Jerry Rosburg said it well when I've got 1 week to try to implement some of these changes that I want to make.
The triple option, that was a weird decision, but
yeah,
okay, we'll
the wishbone.
Yeah, they're going to
wing T. Yeah. But I would say that I like that mentality and the attitude of, all year, Nathaniel Hackett, and this was one place where I thought maybe could have handled things a little differently, was with these rivalries and some of the lack of success, saying, hey, that was the past. We're focused on the now. I think you need to recognize that this has gone on far too long and this isn't good enough and the fans are not happy and you can't lose 14 consecutive games to the Chiefs and just act like it didn't happen. And Jerry Rosburg went out and said, hey, it's hard for me to fathom that this is possible because this organization has such a strong tradition and yet you've lost 14 consecutive. I mean, Phil, we're nearing like all-time losing streaks to a single opponent, to a division opponent.
That was the second time you fainted during his.
Yeah. I was like, that's the attitude I want.
Yeah.
And so,
Swanson caught you that time.
I don't know if the players will particularly enjoy being pushed hard these last 2 weeks when maybe they just want to say, hey, the coach is gone.
Too bad.
He's going to push him, I think. And I'll be really interested to see if these guys come out fired up.
Look, Jeff Saturday came off the street and led the Colts to a win.
They played the Raiders.
Yeah. An AFC West team. That's a good point. Thank you for helping my argument there. I think
they played a team that just benched its quarterback.
Derek Carr?
Yeah.
Wow. That's true. He left the team.
Sad.
Yeah. He was there for a long time.
He was.
How long, Swanson?
2014, is that right?
Yeah. There were a lot of head coaches there.
So I don't know if the game doesn't really matter in terms of the overall.
Like if they were to beat the Chiefs, what would you think?
I would be like, hey,
that was nice.
I'd be like, that was,
good job for Rosburg.
Fun.
They bounced back.
Yeah, nice job by Rosburg.
Would you call that, Swanson, the cat something? Where you have like a bounce back?
Oh, the dead cat bounce.
The cat bounce. I don't really know what that means.
Nice.
I mean, it's not, but that's a.
Why can't it be an alive cat bounce?
Did you ever see that cat in the building was on fire in Houston? I think it was. This building, this like an apartment building is on fire, and a cat jumps out like from the 7th story, and it flies through the air, lands on the ground, bounces back up, and just runs like nothing even just happened.
Maybe that was just the adrenaline. Like I saw a video of a squirrel. They were cutting a tree down that was like 100 feet tall. The tree starts falling, the squirrel flies out, hits the ground, starts running away. And then people are like, wow, the squirrel's okay. Squirrel was not okay.
No, really?
Just adrenaline. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I thought, okay, well, that was one of the lives for the cat.
Oh, yeah. That's
just
true. Squirrels get one.
Yeah, the squirrel only gets one.
9.
Yeah, 9.
He left. Yeah, I mean, it's all about attitude this weekend for me. It doesn't. It's not about because
no building momentum for the offseason. That's not a thing anymore.
No, and I think all jokes aside about how great Jerry Rosburg's press conference is, I'd be really surprised if he went 2-0 if he was seriously considered.
Yes,
of course, for the head coaching job. I think you need someone who has more experience than that, and it's great that he took this on, and great that he's getting this opportunity, but. He was
retired.
It's not like we're going to be like, wow, he really did get the best out of Russell Wilson for 2 weeks. No. He should be the guy.
No.
So
maybe a part of a staff or something, but not.
Oh, absolutely.
Not
I mean, I think he could prove that.
Yes. But he was retired.
He, of course, is very close with John Harbaugh.
He is. They're best friends.
Yeah. Brother of Jim Harbaugh.
Oh.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Jim and John are a little different.
A little different.
They're a little different kind
Which one's cool and which one's different?
That's a good question.
Maybe answer that next time.
I'm going to say that. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not going to venture into that.
That's smart.
See?
Smart. You're learning.
I'm almost a senator.
Yeah.
How would a senator answer that one?
Say,
you know what? That's an interesting point.
I like to celebrate our differences.
Yep,
That's what
there
makes
you
this
go.
country
There you
great.
You are good. You're really good. You're really good. If this whole podcasting thing doesn't work.
I don't think it is.
Yeah. All right. Any shout outs to get to here, Aric?
Oh, quick shout out maybe to our friend Liz Gerald's.
Of course. What kind of things have been going on in the community?
Well, it's kind of a quiet week in the community.
Oh.
Yeah, player events have paused this season, but
yeah,
still doing our best to make things a better place in Denver.
Yes, that is true. Always working.
Yeah. New year, new community.
Kind of, yeah, makes you think. Makes you think a little bit. Shout out to Jokic, of course. Just the normal. That's sort of a standing.
What happened last night?
Yeah, not good. They blew a 19-point lead.
They lost?
They didn't.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even check.
They lost by 1. Questionable foul call at the end.
Weren't they up like 40 to 16?
They were up 19.
Gosh.
Questionable foul call at the end. Were without Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray.
Aren't they without Jamal Murray like every game?
That's not true. He had a little bit of maintenance going on.
Maintenance.
Exactly. Good recall there.
Thanks.
Yeah, good recall. But Jokic still played really well. So shout out to him.
Always good to have moral victories.
Yeah. Any other shout outs going on? Oh, how about shout out Greg Penner? He was really good at the press conference.
Yeah. That was the first time he had his introductory press conference, of course, which I think was
in Minnesota or the one here?
The one here.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't even really a press conference in Minnesota. It was more just like a couple of statements.
Yeah.
But he had the one here. And I thought you're just getting to know him.
Yes.
I think it's a difficult situation to just walk in and set the tone immediately. I want to listen and learn, the right tone there. I think you were just unsure how is he going to handle certain things. I got a better sense, Phil. There was a little scribe scrum that people happened to stumble upon in London.
Well, how did you find?
I just stumbled upon it.
Got it.
But it was me, a couple of reporters from the Denver Post, our friend Mike Fliss, some scribes. And I thought he took a strong tone then. But this was the first time that people have been able to see him.
You need the camera.
On camera.
If you ask me.
Yeah. Audio. There was no audio from that scribe scrum. It was just typing.
Chatting. You need to see and hear.
You need to see and hear it. And I thought I think if you're a Broncos fan, you are really encouraged by what you heard. I know a lot of people were happy to hear that he had reached out to Alan Sills with the NFL to figure out what the heck is going on here with these injuries.
Yeah, I mean, Hackett was a move that was made, but they're going to examine all of football operations.
Yeah. So,
and when you've had the 7 losing seasons,
you got to.
You have to look into everything.
They're determining whether we need a new podcast supervisor, one that listens.
I heard that.
So we'll see what happens.
What about Russ? As a
What?
callback.
What?
As a podcast supervisor?
A callback to when I said, what about Russ?
For being a supervisor?
For being, for knowing Dan Quinn.
Oh.
This is just a callback bit.
Oh, when you weren't listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Goodness.
We're doing the shout outs now, Swanson.
Yeah.
Shout out to Liz Gerald's.
A classic funny joke. What about Zohair?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I wish he'd leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
But he won't.
How do you do that?
707 neutral.
Yeah.
You know that, Swanson.
707. Yeah. Any other shout outs or anything?
I don't think so. I just, we're very close, Phil, to the season still has 2 weeks left, but we're very close to putting 2022 behind us. I think from a football standpoint, that is a good thing. Let's just move on.
Yes. This season,
it's a disaster.
Yeah. Sometimes during the season, the final record and like the month of December kind of falls apart a little bit. Right off the bat this year, Aric, there was never the 4-0 start, or there was never
It was just the whole year was a tough year.
It was tough the whole year. Yeah.
New year, new Broncos.
That's true. We'll have to do some resolutions maybe next year.
Yeah, that could be nice.
Yeah.
A classic thing to do after New Year's.
That's when you make the resolutions.
I think you typically do them on New Year's, right?
We don't have a show on Saturday.
Yeah, so maybe we just shouldn't do it.
No resolutions? Wow.
This is the Senate.
You even want to get in shape?
See what I did there?
You table it?
That was nice.
Table the resolutions.
Not listening anymore.
Yeah. Table the resolutions. Okay. Well, this was an enjoyable show, I think.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody listening enjoyed it. If you didn't, call 707-NEUTRAL.
Yep.
Or leave a voicemail or an email, I mean.
Yep. neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
Yep. Or just hit us up on Eric's Twitter page.
At Aric DiLalla with an A. At Phil Milani with a PH. That's yours.
You hit me on my Twitter page.
Yep.
You can
Non-traditional spellings.
Non-traditional spellings. Let him know what you think about his haircut.
And we did let the winner know who won the $100 gift card.
Oh, the $100 gift card.
We did.
Yeah.
So if you haven't heard from us, you didn't win.
That's kind of a cold way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like when you apply for a job and you don't hear back,
you didn't get it.
It's sad. And you're like, oh,
you want us to send an email to everyone who didn't win? Thank you for applying.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch about future $100 gift cards.
Here's a sticker.
Yeah.
You want a sticker instead? It's almost as good.
Yep.
That would have been nice.
It's true.
But we did not do that.
No.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, one last Breck Brewery show.
Yeah.
We should mention that.
Farmhouse.
One last one at the farm home.
5:30 to about 6:15.
Yep. This Monday.
Yep.
This is your last chance.
Till next year, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
We're on a year-to-year basis here.
Yeah.
So,
but it's been going well. So if whatever. Okay, that's gonna do it for us. For Ben Swanson. Hey, we're saying goodbye.
Is it time to start the show?
We're saying goodbye.
We're about to start?
Pay attention.
For Ben Swanson and Aric DiLalla, I am Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.